The Theatre Curation Project was born in the spirit of stewardship over the art, craft, and history of the theatre. Its purpose is to curate these stories of our mentors and what they passed on to us to be a resource for future generations. Its goal is to preserve these stories and the lessons within them from being lost forever.
Hi everyone, my name is Krystal Kiran and I have the honor of sharing a story with you about one of my beloved mentors, the late Brent Carver. I met Brent when I was 21 years old when we were castmates in the world premiere production of The Lord of the Rings in Toronto. He was our Gandalf and I, at 21 years old, was the baby of the cast, and I was also a swing in the show, meaning that I understudied all of the female roles and could be called upon at a moment's notice to go on stage. I was really nervous about this because as a singer and dancer going into the industry, I never really expected to have to speak on stage. And the reason I was so nervous about speaking on stage was because I grew up with a speech impediment. I grew up stuttering. And so I remember after one of our understudy rehearsals, we were in previews, going upstairs to the green room in the Princess of Wales Theatre. And I was having a moment. I was very anxiety ridden and just was like, oh my gosh, why are they making me speak on stage? What if I stutter? And I decided that was the opportune moment to go and speak to Brent. I hadn't really spoken to him yet. I was a little bit intimidated, not because he himself is intimidating, but because of just, the great Brent Carver. But that was the moment that I decided to go and speak to him. And I'm so glad that I did, because this kind of magical connection unfolded from there. I shared with him how anxiety ridden I was about having to speak on stage. And I remember his eyes just lighting up and him saying, oh, I stuttered too. I think it's one of the reasons I became an actor. And I can't tell you in that moment, the sense of healing that I experienced. And for the first time, not feeling like I needed to hide my stutter or feel shame around it, because here was this brilliant actor who stuttered too. And I asked him for advice. I said, well, then how do you deal with it? How do you, what's your process? And he said one of the best things that he ever did was Shakespeare. And for anyone who ever saw him do Shakespeare knows that he was one of the most brilliant people to perform Shakespeare. And he suggested to me that I pick up a book of Shakespeare's sonnets, these bite-sized poems, and that he would help me, when he was off stage in the green room, and we would speak the sonnets together. And then he also gave me the exercise to reinterpret the sonnets, to write them in my own words so I could really understand what they meant for myself. And we did that for the remainder of the contract. Now, there's 154 sonnets, so that's a lot of sonnets. But what I ended up doing was spending the next 2 or 3 years, roughly, reinterpreting all of them until I finished all 154, and all of which are right here. From that process, I got this idea to produce my first show because each of the sonnets were so inspiring to me. I felt that one would make a great dance, that would make a great song, this one could be a painting. And with the incredible network of artists and friends and colleagues that I knew, I wanted to produce a show. And I thought it could be a benefit for the Speech and Stuttering Institute. That perfectly ties in. And so kindly and graciously, Brent agreed to perform along with all of these other amazing artists that night. It was November 12th, almost a year to the day, 2009. And from there, that process of working on the sonnets with him, reimagining them, and then, performing them or seeing them performed in different ways inspired other projects. One of them, which was a short film in memory of Maple Battaglia, a young woman who was murdered here in Vancouver by her boyfriend. And she was also a beautiful artist, an aspiring actress, and South Asian as well. And the reason I kind of tell all these points is because this is how arts and culture and mentorship work. And I think about the opportunity that I had to work with Brent, and that moment that we had together where we kind of found that common ground and what that flourished into. And that's the beauty of what we do as artists, and it's the beauty of diversity in this country. I think about when I speak Shakespearean text, that Brent lives on through me as I speak that text. And so while I share this story, I also want to take this moment to acknowledge the beautiful artist that he was, and the kind and gentle soul that he was, and the generous soul that he was. And I know that so many of you that saw his work, that worked with him, were endlessly inspired to share space with him. And he was a healer. He truly was a healer. And, you know, we all have the time that we're going to go. And I just feel very grateful that our souls walked this earth at the same time, and that we got to connect the way that we did. And I will be forever grateful for his mentorship. And for everyone else who is feeling this tremendous loss, I'm sending you all so much love. And I know that as a community, that we will continue to honor his legacy in all the ways that we know how. Sending you all the love, Brent.
Please subscribe to our Theatre Curation Project YouTube channel to see previous installments, and hit the notification bell to be alerted when a new story has been posted.